I remember when I was a kid around the house, there were a couple of important drawers where the important stuff was. In my dad's study, even in the kitchen, those two drawers, that's where things were. And can't do that anymore, really.
That's right, because we are in different places than our aging parents often. And so we need to be able to access those important documents, but maybe being able to find it in the drawer is not enough. So today we're bringing in Martha Underwood of Prism. Thanks so much for being with us. And, Mike's story about, finding information in the drawers, can be one option, but there are lots better, more accessible and cloud-based options these days too.
And more secure too.
more secure. That's right.
Yes. I'm happy to be here.
Well, tell us how your personal experience from not being able to access important documents when you needed them.
Sure. So I'm a Gen Xer and taking care of my parents like most Gen Xers are doing now. And in 2017, Hurricane Wilma hit Miami, Florida. When it hit Miami, Florida, my parents' house, they've lived there for 40 years. It kind of went unscathed. Nothing really major happened. But the neighbor's house had this huge tree fall on it. Well, my dad, being the helpful neighbor he is, said that he was going to go over and take his chainsaw, climb on the roof, and help cut the tree down. Well, he fell off the roof and went unconscious.
Oh, no.
My mom was frantic. She didn't know what to do. She called me and I'm asking questions. Is he conscious? Is he unconscious? What's going on? And she's just devastated. Things progressed. He kind of came to, was in a lot of pain. They get him to the hospital. That's about 2 hours away, right? And I get on the phone again with the doctors and they're asking me questions about his health. Does he have a health directive? Like, what are any restrictions? I know that my dad doesn't take blood. I also know that he has issues with anesthesia, but we didn't know the extent of the injury at the time. And so I'm thinking in my mind, what if he dies? Where's the life insurance policy? Where's the will? Does he have a health directive? And my mom is no good. She is just distraught emotionally because we just don't have that information. And my background is in technology. I've been in tech over 25 years, from Silicon Valley to supply chain to IBM to large banks. And so I said, there is a way to solve this problem because they are in Miami, Florida. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. And I wanted them to get the best care possible. And I wanted to have access to the documents so I knew what their wishes were. And I had the consent to speak to the doctors and handle any of the issues that they might have needed to get that good care. And I couldn't do that from Birmingham because, like you said, I couldn't go to the house to look in that important drawer.
Or even if they had one, right? I mean,
correct. Or if they had one, or in that file cabinet. And so I built Prism because in this world now of technology, you have paper documents that our parents and our grandparents are used to having. And then you have digital documents that we need to start adopting, but it's everywhere. One document is paper, one document is digital. So I didn't want the headache of trying to have to comb through all of that. So I created Prism so we can centralize that information and I can get to it immediately wherever I am in the world.
Yeah. And to me, one of the hardest things is that there are so many documents in so many different forms and fashion, and there are so many people in the family sometimes, you don't know who's going to need it and when.
That's correct. And so with Prism, what we did was, not only is it a digital vault, we allow you to connect your account so you can have full visibility to all of their financial accounts. You can't transact on it. It's just mainly, I need to know where it is. The next thing we do is we let you categorize and catalog all of the heirlooms, the properties, the real estate property that you can have in there. And then the documents, you get all that. I have 6 siblings. It's 7 of us. And like you said, who does what? We built the mechanism in Prism to where you can assign an executor, a trusted person, and have 2 trusted people, an attorney, a CPA, and a financial advisor. And based on those roles, we give the subscriber the power to say, I want you to see my financials, or I don't want you to see my financials. I want you to see my documents, or I don't want you to see my documents. Or I want you to only have read-only or administrative access to it. that was important to me because, again, I'm that one child that my parents call and I need to administer,
Mhm.
right? If they have a new account, if they have a new document or updated a document, my parents are 82 and 83. They have no idea how to use the internet like we do. They're not digital natives.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to go in and modify the document, upload it to the system, and then they have it.
Mhm.
The one last thing I'll say about that is the beauty of Prism is that if anything ever happened to your parents, an emergency, and you needed to have access and you weren't given access at first, depending on your role, you can trigger the account. Everything goes into read only state, and then you have access to everything you need to
Hmm.
manage their affairs.
Mhm. So, how do we have conversations with our parents to help them see how valuable this could be?
It's really I typically tell my customers and the people that I work with to talk about the burden that they will leave behind.
Mhm.
Most parents do not want to burden their children.
Mhm.
And so when you start there and you say, mom or dad, here are all of the things that I have to deal with today. And if something were to happen to you, I'm the one that's going to have to handle this. How can you help me? I need you to help me make it easier,
Mhm.
right? And that's when you start that conversation. It's not a one and done. It's a conversation that you'll have over and over again. And I typically talk about having it during the holidays because more people are open. Um, you have more of your siblings there who can share in that conversation as well. And then make it a not a one and done, but a
Mhm.
gradual thing that you do maybe month after month. And you start loading those documents. You get them comfortable with giving you some access,
Mhm.
and that's what I found to be very successful with broaching this conversation and then saying, here, let me show you where it all is, and you have access to it as well.
Mhm.
I can see some aging parents, as I'm picturing my father as I'm saying this, thinking that, well, I can just make copies and send it to all the kids, and that how about that? Or I can just email them a copy. That takes care of everything. But in both instances, one, you've got a physical copy and you may be somewhere else, and the email's not as secure as you really want it to be, correct?
That is correct. Email is not secure. And what I've been seeing and what trends are happening just in technology is centralizing portals and security,
Mhm.
right? Email is not secure. Emails get hacked all of the time,
Yeah.
right? And emails get spoofed. People's emails get spoofed where they may act like they're sending a document from Martha Underwood and you inadvertently click on it and now they have access to all of your information.
Yeah.
So doing it through a portal, securely through a portal, make sure that the people who are supposed to have access has access and the fidelity of that document is there,
Mhm.
right? That I know that this is the document they meant to send me. There is no altering of this document in the platform. Because I was in banking, I held a top level position in a global bank. Security is always top of mind,
Mhm.
especially when you're talking about money at a bank. And
Mhm.
so when we approached the architecture of building Prism, it was a zero trust architecture where we don't trust anyone, right? And we built a multi-factor authentication on the front end. You may see a 2FA where you get a text to make sure you can log in, but we verify your email, we verify by text, and we encourage you to get an authenticator on your phone. You don't have to, but that's just how we are thinking about
Mhm.
security to get access to it. And we encrypt everything on the platform. Nothing is decrypted. It's all encrypted whether when you're putting it in and when we're storing it as well.
So I would imagine that there are people that might think, well, I'm just going to put it up in some other, digital cloud storage for these documents, especially. But one of the things, so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that option. But
Sure.
also, I noticed that within the platform, it's prompting you to help you think about the things that you should be uploading.
True. So one of the things I get all the time is, oh, I have it in Box or I have it in Google, right? Drive. I've put it there. Or one again, those platforms. When you do that, you have to give them access to everything right now. You
Mm.
don't have control over it. And so, like for us, if I put all of my parents' finances and all of their accounts there, my little brother might be like, Mom, let me hold $20,000, right? Because they can see all of that stuff. They have access to the financial information, They can modify some of those documents, even if you want it to be, you put up a PDF, they can download it, convert it, make modifications, and make it a PDF and put it back up there. With Prism, we don't allow that, right? It's secure, and you choose when you want them to see what. You can say, I want you to see it now. I want you to see it when there's an emergency and you absolutely need to have access to these documents and this information, or I don't want you to see anything until after I transition. And once I transition, it doesn't matter. You can see everything and you can handle the affairs and follow my directives accordingly. That is the main difference. We give you the power to determine when you want them to see these documents or financial information. And those other platforms don't do that.
And not to promote us too much, but we have our caregiver's key and we have a physical version. We also have the digital version. And if you have that digital version, you could easily upload it into something like Prism, and then everyone can see it. So it doesn't matter if you're on vacation in Los Angeles, in New York, in London, wherever it is, and you get that phone call, you can immediately look and see what that important information is and relay it to whomever it may be.
And that's the beauty of it, right? And the caregiver's guide is amazing because it thinks of everything. And it ties nicely into Prism and loading it into Prism because, like Kim said, we do guide you on what are the top 10 documents that you need. Right. And when you log into the platform, it's all grayed out from a document perspective. And then once you say, okay, I've uploaded my will, check. It gives you a visual cue that my will is there. Advanced directive, mortgage deed, all of the things that you would need to put there to have access to, or the top 10 most important documents. We guide you to have that. And then we suggest other documents that you may want to load there. But having the caregiver's key there is critical because they've done all of the work with you, right? You've given them the tools and the guidance on what you should be thinking about, what you should be collecting from your parents. And you give it to them beautifully and they can store it there. And like you said, anywhere in the world, if you get that call, because you can't predict what will happen.
Right, where you're going to be, you don't know.
Where you're going to be. And so to easily be able to get it on your phone, access that and talk to that doctor or talk to that financial advisor or talk to whoever you need to talk to and have the information needed at the time is priceless. It gives you that peace of mind and it ensures that you as the caregiver to the person you're caring for is absolutely going to be taken care of with the right information.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see how this is so useful when your parent is alive and is that needs help with whatever it might be, whether it's like your example of having to go to the hospital and needing to jump in and get that information. How does this also what does it do when somebody passes away?
So when someone passes away, what you can do is hit the trigger button. So that's what you go in and you trigger the account. So if I am the executor or the trusted person, you are allowed to go in and hit that. What that does is we will ask you for validating information, a death certificate that's uploaded. We authenticate the authenticity of that document, and then everything goes into a read-only state. And then you're able to access that information if the subscriber gave you those rights.
Gotcha. Because I would imagine that in that scenario, as devastating as that is for a family, this potentially just makes some of that process a little easier.
Yeah.
Much easier because I don't have to go to their house and rummage through that closet or through that important drawer or the file cabinet and try to figure out what these documents mean. I already have it there. And the one thing that I think that people don't understand or we don't really think through it is the impact of grief, right? That we're grieving this loss. And then we have to do all of this administrative work,
right?
This complex work of figuring out what the finances were, what their wishes were, what do we do with the assets? Who should we contact? All of those things. And Prism gives you that peace of mind because it allows you to grieve knowing that all of that information is there and I'm going to get to it.
Right. So what we always say is that the crisis is going to hit no matter what. But if you can lower that crisis level a little bit with that peace of mind, it helps everyone so much.
Yeah, that planning and the planning and being prepared for sure.
It does. And that's what prompted me to make Prism, because when my dad, had that incident, it made me realize that. Like, I felt helpless
Mhm.
because, again, I'm 700 miles away. I can't get there. By the time I get there, anything could have happened. And so it was critically important for me to be able to quickly have access to that. And I think that more and more people are starting to realize that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because many of us don't live near our parents.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you so much, Martha. You've given a lot of people some peace of mind with all this information. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is true, because so many of the times we don't live close and we want to be able to help and jump in, but it's hard if we can't get to them sometimes.
Yeah. And again, it's not going to fix everything, but that peace of mind to know that that crisis level, instead of being up here, we can bring it down here whenever that crisis hits. If you have any other topics you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. Parenting aging parents.